I have no idea what happened to our
One
intro,
man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
There is no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
God bless the USA. What is up, everybody? Welcome in. I guess we had a double intro there. Not sure what Ewok was smoking tonight, but we got a double intro for you. How are you doing? This is Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. Welcome to everybody in the chat. We got Checks My Pulse coming in. I know we got Jake producing on the back end, DJ Moonboy, and more will be pouring in as we go. We've got a big show for you tonight. As you can see on the thumbnail, we got Trump, Elon, and the man, the myth, the legend, Richard Hart. Strong men equal good times, as the saying goes. A seismic shift is coming for America. Will crypto benefit, and how much? That's what we will talk about tonight. A lot of crazy stuff to get to. Certainly interested in your opinion, because there's some juicy stuff that we got to talk about here tonight. So hit us up in the chat. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And the poll question tonight, probably one that you already have your mind made up on. Who are you voting for in the 2024 U.S. presidential election? Is it going to be Trump, Biden, Kennedy, or other? I don't know if there's a Green Party candidate that you're into. And actually, I'm not even sure I did look up who the Libertarian guy is, because I usually tend to do that, but I already forget who they are. But anyway, whatever you want, whatever floats your boat. We want to hear what you guys have to say here tonight. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling good. I must be having some internet issues, because every time I press something, it freezes on me. I'm not sure what's going on, but
okay.
Other than that, feeling good. Some green candles, some couple days in a row. You know, it's always a pleasure to see that. And yeah, I think things are finally looking up for everybody now. It's not going to be a huge run, so don't panic or whatever. But you know, you're going to see these 3-4% moves on a daily, and then probably on a Wednesday when we stream, you'll probably see a 5% pullback. So,
right,
you know, that's the way it's been lately, and something just to kind of get used to. But you know, things are definitely headed in the positive direction, at least for a change.
I couldn't agree more. I think our trajectory's kind of turned here. I think that's where we're heading now for the time being. So things are looking good. Sorry, just reading the take a break with Jade comment there. So anyway, yeah, we have a lot to get to. BTC and ETH right now. So yeah, Bitcoin and Ethereum both doing very well. If you guys are here We do this every Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Smash the like to help support Real DeFi and this channel. We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts tonight. So BTC and ETH has been looking real good ever since the big drama, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump on Saturday. I don't even know what the price action was at the moment because, in retrospect, I guess I do. But, we were obviously concerned about other things at the time. But BTC, off of that event and discovering that he's okay, and obviously the chances of him now, hypothetically, in betting markets and things like that, winning the election have skyrocketed. So has the crypto market. Maybe not skyrocketed, but it's moved up anyway. So we have BTC at over 64K right now, ETH hanging out right at 3,400. Before these, we had a pullback, a rather significant one over the last couple of weeks prior to that event. And I forget exactly where prices were on Saturday prior to that, but we were in the 50Ks, I believe, still for BTC. So things have moved up off of that news. The biggest piece of actual fundamental news is that we've gotten confirmation that this ETH ETF is going to go live Tuesday, less than a week from today, 7/23, July 23rd. Which is going to be really interesting. At first we were hearing that it was going to be the first week of July, and then none of that stuff happened. Now we're getting it on July the 23rd. So not only that, we just saw this piece of news before we went on air. I don't know what a mini ETF is, but the SEC just approved a grayscale ETH mini ETF. I don't know if that's like an ETF for little people or what exactly the deal is there. But
BlackRock, wasn't it?
Or no, it was great. It said grayscale. I thought
it was BlackRock.
I'm pretty sure grayscale, but either way, the big thing is that the actual ETH ETF is going live. We have bullish action in the market overall. What do you feel about this, Ewok? And where do you think we're headed here for BTC and ETH in the short and the longer future later in 2024?
Well, yeah, I think it's bullish. I think I thought we would have had better news a couple weeks ago. That's why I predicted, we would see price action by July 1st. I thought people would try to front run it. Obviously I was a little bit off, but either way, what's a couple weeks when you're talking a 4-year cycle, right? You're
right,
not too far off. But it totally looks bullish to me. I don't know what the mini ETF is either. I'm really not sure. I've never heard that saying, but I think it looks good for everything. I think this could, we're always talking about that flippening, right? Where ETH market cap takes over Bitcoins. Will it be this cycle? Will it ever happen? That's who knows, but it's a very good possibility. This could really lead into pretty good timing as far as the rest of the markets are concerned. You've got some sell off of Bitcoin. Now you've got that ETF too, so that could change the whole dynamic a lot. That be in the past, that whole flippening thing could be a thing of the past where it may never happen. I don't know, but it's always interesting to think about anyway. But yeah, I think it looks bullish for everything, and then obviously the trickle down effect as things start to kind of pop off and get to where they're going. Then you see the influx into the altcoins and the rest of the markets as well. So, yeah, I don't think it could be more bullish, actually.
No, I'm totally with you. This has been a fantastic turnaround with the ETH ETF actually launching. Now, I don't know what kind of price action we'll get just to the fact that it launches and goes live. But I will say we didn't really see much crazy bullish action on the announcement of the ETH ETF, so we never really saw that big of a run up. It really just kind of pulled back. It gained a little bit on Bitcoin, but we still have yet this entire year at any point seen ETH do anything really. Forget any kind of huge catapult run where it closes in on BTC. It's really not performed well this year. Now, we've talked in the past that part of that might be because it held up really well in the bear market, and it did. A lot of people, Richard Hart included, I think, were calling for $500. There was a lot of people out there doing it. It didn't quite get there, about 875 or something, which in retrospect seems like Jesus. That's pretty much the same thing. But we really haven't seen it do anything this year. So that's what we're all holding out for. And I think that we are now entering the ETH alt season soon. I think we're in we have a nice rebound right now. The market's going to kind of chill out, I think, for a little while. but we've already seen BTC do fantastically this year after the announcement of the ETF. It just makes sense at this point with the ETH announcement, everything that's happening in the United States politically and things like that right now. We're starting to get into more risk on type mentalities. So I think that's what we're going to see. I guess I'll ask you, Ewok, just to kind of finish it off with BTC and ETH. Where do you think we kind of finish the year with both of those? Because, surprise, surprise, we have this U.S. election coming up in November. So we're hoping that's an insanely bullish event. I think that it probably is going to be. What do you think we see with BTC and ETH as we finish off 2024 here? We got 5 months left.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a slow, steady rise. Like, I don't think we're going to see, obviously, we're not going to see the blow off top. That's not until next year, whenever that happens. Are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, just because
I think your screen did. It did.
It was frozen. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure my mic was still working. But I see a slow, steady rise. Steady increase with pullbacks along the way, just like a normal, I guess we're going this way with it. A slow rise. I don't see anything parabolic happening by the end of this year. I mean, things will get good. Things are bullish, and if the election, goes the way we think it will, it is bullish, and there aren't people that are trying to kill it. Hopefully the SEC changes a bunch of personnel at that point. New people are appointed, different things take effect where, the overreach kind of stops. That would be a perfect scenario, right? But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good end of the year, but I don't think it's going to get crazy. That won't happen again until next year, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, but I think we're going to see some bullish action for sure. Who knows? I imagine at some point here in the not too distant future, even we might see BTC retest and hit new all-time highs. But again, we're all really holding out for ETH and wanting to see where it goes. So it would be awesome to see if ETH can run up to its previous all-time high this year. A little bit later in the year, who knows? Maybe it'll even happen quickly. I mean, like you said, Ewok, I mean, you kind of front ran mentally that idea of ETH to $4,000 by July, which didn't happen. The opposite pretty much happened. But I think that like I said, I think we're getting into that more risk on mentality now, and people are going to come back to this market. So
yeah, I agree.
A lot of bullish things happening. And Trump obviously is going to go out and talk pro crypto and everything, but the fact that is spurring, whether it's even remotely a truth or not, Democrats and other parties and things like that to talk positively about crypto. Hey, both you guys fight over us as much as you want to. I would love for it to be a talking point. Yeah, you just keep fighting over it. That's fine with me.
That's right.
So yeah, that's where we are with Bitcoin and ETH, and we're going to get, of course, into the Trump stuff a little bit more as well.
Take a look at the price chart here a little bit.
Oh yeah. If you want
to bring that up.
Well, if you want, I was going to go into Pulse now, but if you want to,
just take a look. I don't know. Did you? I missed
it.
I really
don't care. I mean,
if you want to, I got a text. I didn't know if you covered the prices or not.
I said the price of BTC and ETH, yeah, but yeah, I mean, as far as the chart, I guess the only interesting thing is, like I was saying, that I think we were still back in the 50Ks before the assassination attempt on Saturday, and then just the way that it's kind of moved up since then has been pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, what we're seeing.
Yep. I mean, it's still looking bullish, especially Ethereum. It's getting a couple major retracements here back to, this one red candle kind of hurt pretty badly. This is the weekly candle, but that week of the first week of July, you said it did the exact opposite. But we've kind of eaten all of that back up. We're back to where we were right before that, and there is it's pointed and definitely changed direction here on the RSI. So looking pretty strong. As far as the ratio, it's still stayed the same though. We're still at that 0.05, which is, we've been in this zone for quite a while, obviously give or take a little bit, but all of these are from here to here is all 0.05 something, right? So
right,
we've just kind of hung out in this range. So that's hasn't changed yet. This is what we're kind of looking for, to see this take over and the ratio of ETH get a little bit stronger versus Bitcoin. And I think you may see that upon this approval and the next approval for the major ETFs and not the mini ones.
Yeah, the ones for regular size folks.
Right.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. So that's where we're at with BTC and ETH, looking good for sure, feeling really good, and turning our attention to PulseChain. I mean, I'm feeling as equally great about this right now, actually more great because I actually hold tons of bags of this token. So Pulse is up to 4 zeros and a 456 basically right now. We got Pulse X at 4 zeros, 2.3. Incentive token has gotten back up over $2. It's at 2.45 right now. Hex, man, Hex has really been making a bottom, and it has shot up pretty healthily here as Pulse has come back up. So Hex is back up to 0057, and then eHex 00158 right now. So I know Hex was down in the 0.4 of a penny range there. So it's coming up pretty nicely. But you, I, and DJ and Moonboy were just kind of discussing the prices of this ecosystem earlier today, and the fact that it kind of started to pull back for maybe an hour today, and then we kind of just have gotten right back to these prices here. But we've seen this nice slow crawl up of the PulseChain ecosystem here over the last week. Obviously, the events of over the weekend that pulled up the rest of the market are going to spill down and help out PulseChain as well. But I couldn't be more bullish right now. I mean, just fundamentally, obviously, on this ecosystem and where we're at. The timing of the 4-year cycle, which we didn't really mention there with BTC, now lining up with every cycle that we've seen previous to this. So people are feeling more comfortable about, the timing of it and everything, and hopefully getting a run deep into 2025. The whole double bottoming scenario that we've seen with Pulse, and now it seems like we've come up off of that comfortably. I couldn't feel better about it right now. I'd love to hear what you have to say, Ewok, but I feel fantastic about these prices right now. I love seeing this strength coming off of the lows, essentially. We didn't quite hit the lows of a year ago, but I love the strength here. So if you want to look at the Pulse chart and let me know your thoughts, I love where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna share this one, and we'll pull up this chart. You can see this one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, totally this total V bottom, it's working its way up. This is the daily chart too. So, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 out of 8 last candles, dailies are green. So, ideally, I think this is what we want. We want these small little incremental steps up and an occasional pullback. We've always kind of said it works best that way. The parabolic ones are nice, but for now, I think this is the way you want to go to kind of test the waters. You want to see who's going to dump at what levels before any major investor puts a bunch of capital into it. You want to test the water, right? Well, is it going to hold? Is it going to hold? Let's keep going a little bit more, kind of thing. And I think there are going to be certain levels that when we hit, that point, maybe the 0.7 or the 4 zeros 0.75 before it gets back up there. There's going to be some interesting, just basic, the mental numbers when it gets to 3/4 of the sacrifice. That's an important level. There's going to be half of it. Obviously, once we get to half, it's going to be another level. So, I think this is the healthiest way we can do it. It looks great. I think the structure alone is very bullish. I'm really liking what I see. And yeah, you're right. We didn't get down quite as low as the very bottom, but again, I think it was close enough, and I don't think we needed to. We can go back to the August of 23 and say that was pretty much the bottom. So, it happened a lot sooner than people said. Well, it's going to take forever to play out, but it really didn't. It didn't take quite that long. So, it did double bottom here already. We were hoping kind of for a triple to finish it off and take off from there, but like I said, it got close enough, and yeah, it looks good. We're seeing, when you see 7 out of 8 daily green candles, things are definitely looking up.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't feel better about where we're at right now. Sorry, were you still going?
Well, I was going to say, something else to keep an eye on too is the bridge, the amount in the bridge. So just kind of watch it. I don't know
Mhm.
where it's at right now. Take a look here real quick. Looks like 101 million. So that's an interesting number to watch as well, especially as ETH grows in price, because there's 8,800 ETH in that bridge, and right now it's sitting at 29,978,000. So we're almost at $30 million just in ETH. So when we start to see some major impact on price, that's going to help the bridged in value, which is also going to, you know, as well help the pulse chain value. A lot
Mhm.
of that value is tied together. So, that Ethereum and DAI and USDC are stables, but as the other things rise, that inherently adds more value to pulse chain too. So I think it's
Right.
one of those rising tide kind of lifts all boats scenarios. So yeah, that's looking good too. But if you're looking at the prices, you want to keep an eye on that and see how it affects the price of Pulse as well. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I've been talking the last couple of weeks on here too. Like for a while there, I was only when I did big DCAs, I was really just focusing on Pulse and Pulse X. But I think Hex is in a terrific range right now. I mean, it just made all-time lows, which for the Hex that's on Pulse chain that's been around for over a year. So yeah, and its ratio against Pulse and everything. For me, I've wanted to dip my toes back into there as well. So yeah, I don't think you can go wrong really right now. I mean, like to each his own. I see it looks like Rebel Yell's not a fan of buying Hex right now or something in the chat. I can't really make it out, but
I don't
yeah,
think Rebel Yell's a fan of much right now. He's telling me to draw a new line. And the reason I
yeah, I
drew this
saw that.
line was the upwards trend. And that's why I kept it there. I don't care about the new lines. The only reason that line is there because that was the that was the original trend line that was holding until we broke through it. Once we get here, this could act as support or resistance. I mean, once we get to this level, and that's going to be, I don't know where it'll be when it happens, but that's why I kept it to see if it respected that line. I didn't want to remove it. So I'm not a big line drawer. I had that as the initial trend line that was headed up. When it broke through, I want to see if it becomes resistance on the way back up. So that's why I kept it there, Rebel Yell, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I do
So
want to
there.
show checks my pulse. If you go to here, I'll
I
switch to that
just sent it
screen.
to him. I just sent it to him in the chat. Sorry,
Oh,
unless it.
oh,
Yeah,
you
it's
did
there.
right after that. Okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
gopulse.com/bridge. Yeah, if you just go there, yeah, it'll
Yep,
show you where we're at right now. It's pretty good.
I
Yeah.
missed your comment. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So
Cool.
good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I feel incredibly positive about the whole ecosystem right now. So yeah, I think we're gonna be taking off. I think the next couple of years are gonna be really good. And it's just a matter of sticking it out. We've talked about the things that you can do kind of in this time. If you are out of money to DCA or you're just feeling uncomfortable, I mean, I know it's hard to sit on your hands. So, we are both advocates of LPing Pulse and Pulse X to earn the ink yield in the meantime. We have a really strong ratio of Pulse to Pulse X right now. I mean, Pulse X is just holding up so well at that 1 to 2 range, basically. So yeah, I mean, things are just terrific right now. So, yeah. Anyway,
Looking
if you
pretty
guys
good.
are here and enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like. We do this every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get into, and we obviously have to cover the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, but it also is we didn't want to necessarily get like overly political. And this isn't a topic that can just be like ignored, obviously, and it's not just a political topic. I mean, it was an assassination attempt on a former and very possibly future president. So it necessitates definitely talking about the poll question tonight so far, going pretty much how I thought that it would. It looks like 79% or so. Oh, it's down to 71. Wow, a whole bunch of other votes just came in. I'm not sure who that's for, but 71% for Donald Trump. We've got actually other is next at 18%. 7 are voting for RFK and 4% for Joe Biden, which, oh, by the way, breaking news, Joe Biden test positive for COVID-19. We saw that before we went on the air tonight. So, yeah, interesting. I probably shouldn't have said that sentence. We might get some negative action here on YouTube now. Yeah, same Briz. Very, very bullish. So yeah, and we're gonna get into this urban production. You said we were this close to a civil war. How's that for political? I mean, yeah, I mean, we're gonna cover this from all angles here. So let's get into it. So let me see the points that I wanted to bring up. So Richard Hart actually tweeted about it whenever it happened that day. I mean, obviously everybody had opinions about it, and Richard Hart, it was kind of interesting because I've never really seen him outwardly do this, but he basically came out and gave his like staunch 100% support for Trump for presidency. Not that he will be or can be voting, Richard, that is. But that's who he's behind, obviously, for this election. I guess like what I want to say to you, Ewok, and obviously like this is like something we're reacting to and seeing so much. I mean, it's like information just come, from a fire hose basically over the last few days. More and more information. Some of it is true, some of it's not. Some of it, people are acting as if it's true and it isn't. I mean, there's just so much coming at us. But kind of just your initial reactions to everything and where you think this kind of leaves our country, because we are in the United States for now, and what maybe a timetable of people's like emotions and reactions are going to be here. I guess we could just real quick. I don't want to get way too into it because I'm sure a lot of the viewers feel the same way. But I mean, I was utterly shocked when it happened. I got tipped off on Twitter about it somehow, and then I got a text from a relative, and I started to look into it and everything. It was just an absolute utter shock, as I think everybody was. And then to actually see the video of what exactly transpired, but before all the other details of like who the shooter was and stuff like that, but just seeing him go down, and then of course what he did thereafter. Talk about like a huge range of emotions over a few days. But yeah, what were your kind of initial reactions? And then we can get into like what we think a timetable is going to be for like how people might react to this whole thing here.
Well, I actually was watching it because I heard it was in in Butler,
an area
PA,
we're familiar with.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with that area, obviously, and I was surprised, like standing there, kind of in awe, like what the hell just happened. So I was actually watching it live, and first impression was, all right, how did this guy get a shot off, first of all, or guy or whoever it was. At that point, I didn't know. As things transpired, obviously we found out more, but after years of this happening, the attempt on Reagan's life, and obviously JFK is a big one too. You talk about that, but how does this happen? And the immediate thing was, all right, now who's behind it, right? It was one of the first reactions, but to see him get up after it happened, he grabs his ear, then he realizes what's going on. He goes down immediately. I thought the Secret Service was a little lax. Like they kind of didn't look like they had their shit together at all. They were kind of, I mean, obviously things are happening, heat of moment, whatever. You got to give these people credit. They're still standing in front, and obviously it's their job to take a bullet. It just looked messy. You know what I mean? Just the whole thing, It kind of looked messy. But the big thing is when he did stand up and he raised his fist and he's like, we got to fight. That was just like,
that was amazing. Yeah,
it was inspiring. You can't be anything but inspiring. I think even, love him or hate him, the man is not giving up, and that's not going to stop him. I mean, someone's gonna have to do a little bit better, obviously, to stop him. But it was shocking. Like, it was like, oh my God, what just happened, kind of thing. And it was pretty intense. And then we can probably tell me what your reaction was as you saw the tape the first time too.
Well, it was weird because, like, of course, like you hop on Twitter and you're trying to figure out what's going on and everything. And at first, I just saw the video of like the shot pass by and him go down, and that was all I saw. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? That's all I saw. And then luckily, I saw a longer kind of full video, and I mean, it's just, surreal, I think, is the number one word that I've been using over the last few days. I know a lot of other people have been too. But it's just his reaction right after it. I mean, I totally agree. I was telling you and another guy the other day, like, um, I don't fanboy out often at all. I'm just not somebody that does that. I'm not even doing it here, but I've never necessarily felt like I admired something that Trump did. I don't care what anybody says, man. I mean, like, it, if you have gotten shot in the side of the head, if you have experience with that endeavor, then maybe you may have a chance to talk about how he reacted right after that. But to me, and you can call it stupid, that's fine. I mean, I don't think it was stupid, but I mean, to have the wherewithal after that, as he's being lifted up by Secret Service, to look out over the crowd, poke his head out, put his fist up, and say, "Fight, fight, fight." I mean, I don't know how you do that. I mean, that's maximal. How much more vulnerable in life are you going to get than having just been shot in the head? You
Right.
know, and obviously it was his ear. I know it wasn't directly where it was intended, thank God, but um, it's just insane, and I think wildly admirable. And obviously we've already talked about some of the pictures that came right after it. I mean, they're beyond iconic, and it's just. I know I keep saying the word insane, but I just don't know what else to make of it.
Yeah.
But for him to have the presence of mind there, and luckily, I mean, yeah, the Secret Service. I mean, that's the thing that I think we were talking about this before the show. I don't think there's anybody that differs from the opinion that at the very least this is like gross negligence on the part of the Secret Service, and
Yeah.
that's a general statement, but I mean that could be from, and look, neither of us have ever been in the Secret Service. I'm not somebody who knows everything about that, but we've seen a lot of what their strategies have been over the last couple of years in terms of the personnel that they hire and things like that. We unfortunately have really only seen like excuse making and no ownership taking from many people associated with them. It's just been one group pushing it onto another group, kind of back and forth with all this. So at the very least, I mean, I think we all admit there's just like gross negligence on their part, whether it's the staffing, the actual actions that happened in this event or leading up to it. I think we all agree with that. It's where, is there any kind of ulterior motive going on here, or something where people get a little bit deeper, obviously, but at the very least, incompetence and just a terrible job, obviously, by the Secret Service here, whether it was just not having enough people around him, not acting the way they should have in the moment, somehow not knowing that the shooter was over there on the roof. I mean, that's something I think we all could pretty much agree on.
Well, and I think Brazology hit it on the head, because I did hear that Jill Biden was somewhere in Pittsburgh with another team. Biden was somewhere with another team. So I think that's kind of what happened. He did get the JV team, and I don't know if you happen to notice it or not. But the following, 2 days later, I guess it was Monday, when he made his entrance to the convention. I don't know if you noticed the security around him that night, but they were all 6'2", 6'5" dudes that were like strapping. You know what I mean? It was a much different security detail on that one. So, I do feel like he might have gotten the JV team, but again, I don't want to take anything away from those people who did put their body in front of him, because that takes a special person. You know what I mean? I don't care. Those people that were up there, they do deserve some credit for what they did. They even though they were a tad late, I don't think it was them. It was the detail around the stage, and possibly local police, possibly Secret Service, possibly other three-letter agencies. The one thing that we were talking about before the show is that I said I wanted to bring this up, but we all know that when JFK was assassinated, one of the biggest reasons for that was because he vowed to remove the troops from Vietnam. And I think you have a very similar situation with Trump saying that he wants to end this whole Ukraine scenario. There's a lot of funding going to Ukraine. There's a lot of theories that there's money being funneled back to certain people, and they don't want to lose that gravy train. Again, we don't want to go too far down that conspiracy rabbit hole, but when you think about it, we know they've offed people for probably much less. Knowing people's secrets is a bad thing, and you know, the Clinton Foundation alone has probably done more damage than that. So
I have no idea what you're
anyway,
talking about. Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I don't want to get myself on any list, but um, anyway, it's yeah, at the very least, like you said, gross negligence. And who knows? Will they try again? And somebody else, there's just the hate speech, even the even the aftershock of it, people saying, well, I can't, I'm pissed that he missed. That type of
Man.
thing is just, it's crazy to me how you can wish, whether you like them or not, death on somebody. It's, if it were completely the opposite, scenario where it was an attempt on Biden's life, I wouldn't be, I don't know that there's a way you could be upset that they missed. Like, I don't know. To me, that there's deeper issues with the people that are saying that kind of thing. So
there definitely are, and that's a point that I did want to get to. But let me ask you this: so because right now people's emotions, I mean, like we're seeing the initial reaction, like there's a lot of support coming out for Trump. I think that we're going to have a lot of the biggest thing, I said this to you the other day, I think what this will do more than anything is push a lot of people that are in the middle or kind of on the fence or independent voters who were a little hesitant of voting for him. I think this is pushing those people that may have just been lazy and stayed at home. I think this might perk them up to actually go out and vote at the battle box, as President Biden would say. But that's what I think this is going to do. I think that's a big thing that's moving the needle here. And I want to ask if that's your opinion too. And where do you think people's emotions do kind of go from here? Because I do think ultimately, as what we have the video titled as today, I do think that this is going to lead to a huge turnaround. I do think that this is going to get us, like, this is a tipping point. This is not none of this political theater and drama and stuff like that back and forth over the last 8 years or so since this really ratcheted up. I think this is really it coming to a head right now. I mean, this is this hasn't happened before. We haven't seen anything like this in this better part of a decade. So I think and hope, and maybe it's just the optimism in me, but I think that this is going to awaken again, like I said, kind of those like middle of the road folks that, and hey, I'm included in this. Like years ago, or when you first got an inkling in like 2015 that Donald Trump was running for presidency, it's like, oh, dude, this guy's a buffoon. This is a joke. That can't be serious. And a lot of us, many people, and they're lying if they don't say it, I mean, had that opinion initially and might be a fan of the guy and voting for him now, So I think that a lot of bridges are going to be crossed through all this. And I do think that we're going to have tensions lessen a little bit over time here and realize that, like, look, you may not like the guy. He's already been president before. He ran in 2020. He's very likely to be president again. There's enough people in the country voting for him that he's the president. So, and just like Biden, so yeah, I know I threw a lot at you there, but like, what do you think of that? What do you think the range of emotions here will be? And do you agree with me? Because I do think we are going to see some positivity, in the months ahead. So
yeah, I do too, and I think at the very least, I think it may get people to do a little bit of their own research. The media is a very, very dangerous thing, right? When all the media is saying the same thing, and every quote you see, one of the big ones is Trump is a threat to democracy. But when you really look into it, he has the best interest for America and its citizens. I truly believe that he wants to do what's best for everybody. And I don't think he's a threat to democracy. I think the people that don't want him there are the threat to democracy. Unfortunately, people are only going to listen to what they hear. I just, if anything happens out of this, I hope that it's people start to do a little bit more of their independent kind of research. Now, bad info in, bad info out. So you kind of got to be careful where they're getting their information. We all do. You have to look at multiple sources, and you have to look at things that aren't slanted in one way or another. So,
Mhm.
I guess that's my biggest take is I just hope that people look into it. I have learned a lot in the past several years, and I think with the whole X Twitter thing, allowing free speech, you're getting a lot more of this stuff out there that you probably wouldn't have seen before. Stuff that was hidden or censored, things like that. They don't want a lot of things. So when you get to the truth and you say the truth and it's hidden, it should raise some red flags. Now, the problem is people don't know that it's the truth. And I think that's where they need to start. They need to start looking at, all right, what's being censored, but why? Why is it being censored from some platforms? And you really have to go down that rabbit hole a little bit to realize that, this guy's not as bad as it seems. And a lot of these numbers that we're hearing, Biden took office, he keeps saying that he inherited it at uh,
Mhm.
whatever percentage the inflation rate. He says like I inherited it 9 and we're back down to whatever. I heard the other day it was like 2.8 or 3 or something like that when he inherited it. So that's one of the big talking points for them is that he thinks he's fixing an inflation problem that wasn't there. So
Right.
again, out of this whole thing, I really wish that just people would start doing a little bit better of their own research, and checking different things and not relying on one or two news sources. You know, if anything, that's my wish for this.
I totally agree with you there. I mean, obviously, I think that we can agree that any form, and I'm trying not to make a generalization, but any form at this point of legacy media should be completely ignored with a broad brush. And I usually don't like to make generalizations like that, but I don't even have like a cable TV service anymore, so I don't even know like what all is on or what the networks are. But I mean, you think about the CNNs, MSNBCs, Fox News, and we can argue the minutia of like which one has better aspects or attributes about them than the others. But there's just too much good alternative media now that is done with very high production quality, that has people that are actually interested in the truth and things like that. Not everybody. I mean, like, there are certain outlets that are definitely, they have certain bread that they need to butter no matter what. But I think that we can ignore all legacy media at this point. There's just no purpose. I mean, it's for already kind of paranoid folks that are maybe elderly or older at this point and sit down at the end of the night and they know that they can just weave any little bullshit story and the viewer is going to believe it. But these
Right.
days we just have too much other stuff out there. And no, I'm not just talking about like, oh yeah, just go to Joe Rogan or whatever. I don't even just mean that. I mean, like there are tons of different ways to get your news. I do like Crystal and Sauger. I think they're good. People on the left watch guys like the Young Turks. I don't really know what I totally think of them.
Mm.
But of course, then you have like PBD and people on the right and stuff like that. Like you said, I mean, I would just want to get it from a lot of different sources. And I really, really do think, and again, it might just be the optimist in me, but I do think this event is going to bring down people's emotions. And it'll be interesting to hear Trump's speech here at the RNC whenever he eventually does do that, because I think he is going to lean into that. I think he's going to talk about that. And it will be interesting coming from him, because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say, I mean, like, he has had times where he could have chosen maybe better words at times in the
Right.
past. I think it's a blessing and a curse for him. It's part of what got him elected the last time around, because when you have somebody as unpopular as Hillary Clinton calling, Trump supporters his basket of deplorables and stuff like that. He kind of had to do, I think, some of that showman ad man type stuff that he was doing to get elected.
Right.
I really don't think we're going to see those terms this time around. I think he just is naturally calmer. He is older. He just got shot. I mean, there's many reasons that I think we'll see that calm down, and I'm hopeful for that. So, yeah, what do you make of that?
Yeah. Well, no, that's my. I totally agree with you. I think things will tame down a little bit. I think even on the left, you're seeing them say, "Bring it down, bring it down a
Mhm.
notch." Everybody's got to kind of some of these words that everyone's choosing is not okay. Talk about putting people in the bullseye or whatever. He even admitted that he shouldn't have said that. So yeah, I totally agree. I'm completely where you're at with it, and I think that yeah, I think it needs to come down, and yeah, I'll be interested to see what he says at the convention as well. He's gonna use it as a talking piece. Obviously, he would be silly not to. Just to kind of fortify. He's already got a huge fan base as it is. And I think it will only increase because of this. So yeah, I'm all for it. Like I said, things do need to get to chill back a little bit, but unfortunately, we live in a world where mean tweets can offend people, and people need to kind of dial it back and not be so offended. And look what's being done. So anyway, that's where I'm at with it. We can all hope for the best.
Let me get your opinion on this, and then I'll kind of bridge this back into crypto. But like, what do you make of this thing of, and I hate to even get into it, but there's one account that's doing it. I keep noticing it because it's popping up in my feed, I think because of the amount of engagement on it. But that Libs of TikTok account on Twitter is doxing people. I find this one interesting because there are people that wholeheartedly agree with this, and there's people that myself that I don't agree with it at all. But they are basically, they've always been a conservative, like making fun of just like crazy liberals on TikTok, obviously.
Right.
And they have been doxing folks that are saying things like the dude at the Jack Black concert the other night. What's that band's name? Whatever. I've never been a fan of them. Never been a fan of Jack Black at all.
I know exactly who you mean, and I heard the whole thing, and they canceled the tour.
So they did. Yeah, and Australia basically kicked them out. They were in Australia, and they said to get the hell out of here. You guys in the chat know who we're talking about. But anyway, the dude basically, Tenacious D. The dude basically said, "Don't miss next time," and. So now it's like, that's a very selfish move by you to give an opinion like that. Now everybody that works on your tour is out of a job. You just got kicked out of Australia. It's just and reprehensible. I just don't understand people saying that, no matter how much you dislike somebody. But that Libs of TikTok account and other people are doxing folks that are saying opinions like that, which I think are horrible. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when I hear people say that, I think that they've got like deep-seated issues that go far beyond Trump, like just a level of unhappiness that can't be cured right now.
Sure.
But that Libs of TikTok account is doxing them, saying where they work, tagging their place of employment to try to get them fired. And people that are behind this movement are saying like, hey, this is only what the left have done to us for the last 4 years. And, and what they're threatening, this actually goes beyond anything any Trump supporter has ever said. They're, wishing death upon the guy and stuff like that. While I think it's reprehensible and I would not likely be friends or very close with any of those people, I am not a fan of doing that. I would never go. First off, I have better things to do with my time, but I would never go actively try to ruin somebody's life. I mean, I think it's a horrible opinion. I think they're likely in a moment of weakness and saying something very, very dumb on the internet, which everybody watching this has done at some point. But I don't agree with doing that. I don't know what your opinion is. I saw Too Spooky just talking about somebody that's, within the PulseChain ecosystem and stuff, was totally behind it and supported and all this. I don't really care. I mean, I would not be going out of my way to do that to anybody, though. That's just not something I would do. But
I have mixed feelings. I have very mixed feelings about it because, here's the thing. Free speech, while it is free, there are consequences for some of the things that you say, or can be anyway. You're still held accountable to it. You can say what you want, but when it becomes malicious or hateful, it works both ways, right? So am I for somebody getting their life ruined? Well, no, but maybe that person should think a little bit next time before they post hate speech. You get the same side saying all of this stuff, how there's hate speech, and
Mhm.
Trump's people are all hate. There's no, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And now you're seeing it from the total other side. It's okay. Well, who's got hate speech here? And you have to call them out for it. I don't want to see anybody's life ruined. Maybe there can be a lesson learned without having somebody lose their job. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. But again, people need to realize that there are consequences. You can say what you want online, but be careful what it is, because there are sometimes repercussions that you're probably not ready for. So
Mhm.
hopefully that ends as well. People see what's going on, and again, it all gets like tame it down a little bit. Um, hopefully, a couple of these will stop it. Maybe sometimes that's what it does take, though, is there's um, a rabid dog out there waiting for someone to say something, and knowing that there are consequences for it, it may make them not. you know, in a perfect world, everyone's nice to each other. Well, that's not possible. Because
Yeah.
we know that's not the world we live in. Ideally, it would be, but you know, I think the more important thing is the civil discourse between people, and having a real conversation, even if you don't agree. We need to get back to that, being able to disagree with somebody, but having a civil conversation about it. And that's just kind of where I wish it would be. But again, we all know that it's a different world, especially right now. Things do get heated, and um, people lose friends, people lose family over
Mhm.
political parties. It's crazy to me that people take it that seriously, where you're willing to just outcast a family member because they have a different belief. So
Well, I want to say that to the point about the posts on social media, it really depends on what the person says, I think. You know what I mean? Like if it is a
right,
lengthy, descriptive post about what they feel should have happened to Trump, that's totally different than just like, some teenager that works at Best Buy saying like, some short offhand you know what I mean? I think it's a little different. Like somebody was highlighting a woman who was like a school counselor that wrote
yeah,
like a detailed post, and it's like, I don't
I
know that you
saw
should
that.
be working with kids. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those times, and I agree with you. I agree with what DJ Moonboy says. Like, yeah, you can go ahead and do it or whatever, but like and that's why I would never post any little maniacal thought that pops in my head on social media. I think that
Right,
people need to overall that's the biggest problem is people need to really unplug from that and realize that it's okay to examine your feelings and thoughts before you just decide to thumb it out on a social media platform for the world to see.
yeah, yep, for
Um,
sure,
yeah. But
for sure.
anyway, we can get off that now. It's an interesting topic, but I figured it was worth a quick discussion. Um, Valiant low key, good call by you bringing up JD Vance. So this kind of transitions into what we are going to get to, because also JD Vance is a holder of Bitcoin, approximately $250,000 worth. He's pretty pro crypto. He's also spoken out against Gary Gensler and a lot of other things. So that's very nice to see. So I was going to say, it does seem like a weird question with all this happening, but what does this mean for crypto? Because now we do have a much more probable Trump election. He just has JD Vance as the vice president the other day. Not too much of a surprise, but a young dude that I think he wants to carry the MAGA torch basically here. In the next election, he's only 39 years old. He's not somebody who I think has been, totally corrupted by the swamp. He's only been around for a couple of years, so maybe
Not yet.
kind of an yeah, right, exactly. So maybe an anti-politician a little bit as well. But yeah, I'm a fan of this pick. Like the more and more that I get to know about him, I'm a fan of it, especially obviously the pro crypto stuff and everything like that. I was somebody who I was really rooting for Tulsi Gabbard because I thought that was whenever there was more doubt about him winning the election, because I thought that she would really be female, veteran, used to be Democrat, extremely well spoken, highly respected. I thought she would have been the absolute perfect candidate, but at this point, I don't think it really mattered. He didn't have to bring lots of people across the aisle. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I guess twofold here. Like, what do you think about the JD Vance pick? And like, what again? Now that we do have a probable Trump reelection here, we think what do you think it will mean for the betterment of the country? And when things are better, there's less inflation, people are feeling better. That's when they take chances and they're going to spend the money that they have and get into markets like crypto that are highly speculative. So, what do you make of all that?
Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about Vance either. Like I didn't know much about him. He is young. He was anti-Trump again before. He's apparently changed tune and now supports him. So it's one of those things where I was kind of hoping, like I had said before, he obviously did a little research on his own. He's in politics, so these guys kind of do what's in best interest for them and their constituents as well. So, how much of that is him actually, becoming a conservative, or that happens when you get older. With most people, as you get older, you do become more conservative than liberal anyway. So maybe he's just a old soul at the age of 39. Were you 39? Is that what it was?
39. Yeah.
Honestly, I was hoping for RFK. I thought RFK would have been a perfect pick.
My God. Could you imagine, dude? I said that to you the other day.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that would have been a great ticket. You cover both, right? You get them, the ones that, Gabber's not bad either. So
she's not too bad.
I think it's good. I think it's good for the crypto. I think it's good for the economy. I think, we get things back in order. I think we still go back to the interest rates getting cut, and I don't know that that'll happen before election. Obviously, he wouldn't take office till January, so none of his policies would be in place anyway until the following year. So, that doesn't have a whole lot. But I think, I think the kind of like the mindset of the crypto, right? So as this bull market starts, you can feel a mindset change. I saw the other day that someone had said Trump winning is, I hate to say this because I don't want to jinx it, but the uptick in the markets is being priced in now for the changes that could possibly be coming. That's kind of maybe what this is. And that is a good explanation because we know a lot of things are always priced in like that, right?
Right.
The markets get things priced in. This could be a front running of what's to come. So good thing. I think so. So yeah, I'm excited about all this. I want to give him a chance. He is this is something that we've needed for a long time, is to get some of these 75-year-old men out of office. Hopefully he can take this and run with it. And maybe even run next term, because we all know Donald only gets one more, right? So if they can do something positive, this would be a good segue into the very following one and get him nominated as well.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think they're trying to set him up to carry the torch in 2028. And, you look at some of the other candidates in the Republican Party this time around. I mean, I don't know how they could really fare all that greatly in another 4 years. I mean, like what happened to Nikki Haley and even DeSantis and stuff like that. I mean, I think people are a little bit sour on some of that, and people are getting sour also. I mean, like the Republican Party has really turned into it's not what it was anymore. It isn't that, kind of uniparty thing anymore. Trump has basically taken it over, and I think for the better in terms of the precedent of setting a wild card that's not a career politician to come in. And that's why they don't like him, obviously. So I hope that trend continues in both parties. I would love it if the Democrats would follow suit with that someday. It may be a long time from now, but if they did, I think it would definitely do them well for sure. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much covers all that. I know we went really deep on a lot of the Trump stuff, but I think it was really important to do so because it does affect things from a lot of different angles. With the last couple topics here, let's go to so the SEC continuing to suffer. So they just backed out of the PAXOS BNB stablecoin lawsuit, admitted defeat. We just saw the judge in that case a couple of weeks ago essentially say that, I don't even remember the quote, but essentially another judge saying that the SEC filed a frivolous lawsuit, that they have no idea what they're talking about, and err on the side of Paxos. So they lose that lawsuit as well. And again, for them to not actually go to the finish line and just actually drop out of it and quit. I mean, maybe they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
This is good. I mean, it clears the way for stable coins yet again. And again, another SEC loss and admittance of a loss. And obviously, on this show, we're always relating it back to the corrupt, incompetent lawsuit that they filed against Richard Hart. What do you think, could that be an eventuality of this case, which would be very interesting? They get further down the line. Unfortunately, the big date was July the 8th, where we thought we were going to see the SEC's response to the motion to dismiss of that case. We don't get to see it. I think you brought up a great point and probably hit the nail on the head, Ewok, that there's probably very personal Richard Hart information contained within that. So they did not want that to be made public. So that's understandable. We did see a lot of Richard Hart's tweets after that, though, where he was basically reiterating, like, hey, guys, the SEC is still trying to sue blockchain entities, dum-dums. So it kind of airmails that they didn't really change too much in their response to the motion to dismiss. It's likely just a reiteration, which we assumed, of their initial complaint. So what do you make of the SEC backing out of this Paxos thing? And then, yeah, I mean, is there a potential that they could do that with this PulseChain lawsuit eventually as well? Unfortunately, we didn't see the details of their last filing, but I know you probably know the date. I forget Richard Hart's exact date in August where they get to respond back, but hopefully we'll glean some more info by then. But yeah, what do you think of that?
I think it's August 18th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I could be wrong completely.
I'll try to look it up.
That number out, but yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think precedent, we keep going back to that word precedent, and the more of these that the judges see that are just gross misuse of power by these people, where they don't have a leg to stand on, I really feel that we need more of them, right? The more of them that happen, the more likely it is that they throw this one out too. Now, I think some of this case may get dismissed. There are certain things that will probably are easily proven otherwise anyway. So they could be quick and easy, like the misuse of funds, right? If that's provable and there are receipts that never spent anybody's money on anything that you're talking about, if they can prove that, then that part gets thrown out and easily gone away. The big thing now that we have to worry about is, it's weird because we see it, we know it, we live it every day when we're looking at our stuff, and but the normies don't understand that you can't sue blockchain, right? You've got the guy of Tornado Cash still sitting in jail, I believe, for creating software. There are all kind of softwares out there that people use for bad reasons, and do bad things with it. And I don't know that the creator of those are sitting in jail, because it's just not, you can't sue blockchain, and that's the problem, right? So they need a fall guy. So that's why I don't know that they'll ease up on Richard. He has been more vocal, though. It's almost like the leash got a little bit looser, if you haven't noticed, on some of his tweets, and there's a little bit different feeling about some of his tweets now. So I find that interesting. So I kind of take it as a good way that maybe they did get some good news, because they know what the reply says. The lawyers know, they just haven't made it public yet, and they won't do that until their reply is final. And I think then they put everything out together, at least what isn't censored or Privacy Act or whatever it may be. So
right,
I've just noticed a different tone to his tweets, and I find that interesting. It's almost like a good sign, that, like I said, the leash has lessened a little bit. And anyway, the Paxos thing is good. I think it gives us a little bit of precedent. to move forward on, and whether it be just wishful thinking or not. I don't see this completely getting dismissed. I do see parts of it getting tossed, and hopefully that makes the trial itself a little bit shorter. So
yeah, August 22nd is the date actually for Richard Hart's response. And
cool.
I agree with you. Yes, his tweets have gotten, and that's always been a great indicator of like his kind of aggressiveness and his openness to communicate things in tweets is a definite bullish factor, because he's not dumb enough that he's going to just fly off the handle and do that stuff on his own, So I think that that's definitely a great point. And I do think that he feels really bullish about it, and obviously thinks that the SEC's response was, worth wiping your ass with, probably. So
right.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where we go. DJ Moonboy with a super chat. Appreciate that, pal. What does he got here?
Do you guys think memes have topped out? If not, how do you think it will influence our ecosystem? Thanks for all your hard work. Well, thanks for all your support.
Yeah, bud.
Meme coins.
I'll let you go first.
No, I don't think they've topped out. They're gonna flow with the rest of everything. So yeah, in previous cycles, everything moves together, right? Everything that's tied together that has any kind of bonded liquidity is going to move together. The problem with meme coins, even though I know there are
any problems, but
hang on, listen. The problem is liquidity is usually pretty thin. Now, some groups have said, well, no, there's a bunch of liquidity there. We just place it on the sell side, right? Single-sided liquidity for people to exit. That's great until it's not, until somebody makes a huge sell and the price they were looking for gets pulled away, where these people think it's probably getting close to the top. Exit liquidity starts to get removed, and now you've got a bunch of sells. And the problem is, I feel like you only get a few people that can get out. So, that's the big problem that I see with meme coins. I think this is still meme season. I think they're still out there. I think they're going to do well. The problem is, like I said, is the amount of people, how many people can get out of it safely. I think that's where people get hurt, not being able to get out. And then listen, most of these won't come back. They're one cycle cycle ponies that once they rise and fall, they're done. So just keep that in mind, that the majority of these will not be back next cycle.
That's one part that I do generally agree with you. And yeah, definitely, I don't think memes have topped out at all. I mean, like, definitely some of the meme culture on Solana has topped out, because they just got kind of to a ridiculous point with what they were doing and started making too many tokens. And there's not enough, they don't have something like the Tang Gang that is doing all these great things with liquidity and stuff like that, and actually have a good cohesive community. It's kind of just like a few guys on Telegram get together one night, try to think of a funny token idea and launch it over and over again. That's kind of more what happening on Solana. I think that what you said about the liquidity and being trapped and not able to sell like that was probably more probable in past cycles than it was in this one. And I do think you're probably right generally across the meme scope. You know what I mean? I do think you're probably right on like the ones I just described, like some of the random ones that pop up on Solana, ETH, whatever else, and even PulseChain too, probably at the end. But I think that we are now seeing that, like, meme coin used to be more synonymous with like, oh, that's trash or whatever, and people like Ewok may still think that it is. That's fine, but they actually are becoming legitimate things that people are investing in now. Now, I'm not saying that people do it with like a significant portion of their portfolio or anything like that, but I think we're now at the point where it's like, hey, people like to represent what their interests are on the blockchain. And that may seem dumb to some people, and that's fine. I mean, there's things that people purchase in everyday life that I think are very stupid and I would never do. I mean, there's lots of disagreements like that, but that's what makes a market. And markets tend to become efficient over time, as we know. So,
heard that somewhere before.
Me too. I don't know where. But no, I do think memes are coming more, I think they're becoming more legitimate in the eyes of the holders. I think that they're, especially on PulseChain, I think that that's where you're going to find the stickiest communities, whether it is the Tangang stuff or it is, PDI and Atropa ecosystem. I mean, they're both very, very strong. And then there's other ones obviously as well, like Pika isn't even part of any of those. So, and it's doing fantastically. So, no, I don't think meme season or memes have topped out at all. I think the key is, to Dejin Moonboy's point, that you want to be actually getting involved in ones on blockchains that are still poised to go up. That's why I would support the PulseChain ones, obviously. And, I think there's going to be ones here and there on ETH that you can probably do well. And then maybe ones on Solana that have already seen some success, if they're being absolutely butchered at this point of the market because Solana has had a big pullback. Maybe to see if you can get on them at an, minus 80% discount or something. I mean, I'm not too interested in that, but no, I think they're here to stay. I think that Ewok's point is true that there's going to be some that are going to be hard to get out of like that, but that's why you've got to be very, very careful. I mean, I co-sign meme coins if there's actually a purpose behind it and you feel that there's a really strong community that you're getting involved with, and then risking, and that's the other thing, risking a small amount. Like, don't risk more than you're willing to lose, or however you want to look at it. I mean, don't have them as a significant portion of your portfolio, so that's what I would do anyway. That's what I say. So
my one recommendation though is definitely, like, say you throw in $100 and it 2x's at some point, and as it goes up, whatever, take your initial investment out. Then you're playing with house money.
Definitely.
At that point, let it ride. Try and see what you can do. But I think it's always a lot safer play to remove your initial as soon as you can. But as long as if you're leaving extra on the bone, so that if it does moon, then you've got something to look forward to. But always try to get out your initial lottery bet first. And then you're playing with house money. So that's just one little tidbit that I would recommend.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, because then you can have the comfort of like, okay, I got out my initial investment, park it somewhere where you're very confident where you're investing it, and then just ride with the rest, because you're just de-risking a little bit. It's not like you're taking the whole thing out and then it runs up 50x or something like that. Just take your initial investment out, let it go. I totally agree with that practice. Well, let's get to one more thing here. I know you wanted to say something about Maddie token. I really wanted to cover the Mount Gox thing from Richard Hart, but I think it's kind of a bigger conversation, and I wanted to kind of be able to spend more time on it. So, and I think we're going to get more developments with that story by the time that we're on air again next week, and in the coming weeks, this Mount Gox stuff. So, do you want to touch on Maddie token, and then maybe we can wrap up after that?
Sure. And the reason that I said I wanted to talk about it is, I don't like seeing people bash Maddie. If anybody out there has put in more time, effort, hours on stream, things like that, it's Maddie. And because people are hearing things or maybe seeing things, but not doing any kind of research, again, we go back to the research. Do some research, people. Look at the blockchain. The big thing that happened yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, oh my God, Maddie rugged his token. Start at the beginning. Maddie didn't even create that token. First of all, Gary created it and kind of gave the supply to him. He had never had a token before, so he didn't know a lot of things. He's probably learning as he goes. When Maddie launched, or when he added liquidity in the first place, he added liquidity, right? He added his own liquidity. Now, some of that may have been some sacrifice money that was given to whatever set, but whatever, people sacrificed their money. Again, we get these words are important, right? Sacrifice, things like that. You don't have it anymore. So I hate it when people say he's spending the people's money. It's not the people's money. When he added liquidity, he didn't do it in a very efficient way. He realized that and removed some of the liquidity. It's still sitting there. I think it's in a farm somewhere, whatever. It's still earning money. But you guys were, look at what the origin address did with the Ethereum, right? It's earning more money in a pool, hopefully, maybe not in a farm, but we're hoping for some Ethereum gains so that they can rotate back in. Very similar situation. So I don't like to see people bash somebody because they don't know the whole story, or didn't do any kind of blockchain analysis or look at it on stream. What he went by was the amount of liquidity basically for Hex. He looked at the percentage of the amount of liquidity based upon the available coins. And if you notice and you look at the Maddie token, I think it went from over $2 to $6 within a day and a half. So because the liquidity is a little bit thinner, now it can run. Now, people can get in at small chunks, and it is going to affect the price, and it can run up a little bit higher. Sells, yeah, well, it's going to come down hard too, because I think it went from $8 down to $4 pretty quickly, and then kind of worked its way back. Whatever, right. It's now an efficient liquidity ratio, and that's all it was. It wasn't a rug pull. It wasn't anything like that. And I just, listen, Maddie sometimes he comes up with these ideas that, and they're not the greatest. Okay. But the guy puts in hours and hours of time and blood, sweat, and tears into conferences and online things. And he's always doing something for the community. He's a good dude. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I hate seeing people bash him, run his name through the mud when he's done a lot of good things. And that's what I wanted to get my point out there, so that people understood, if they didn't really know what happened, what did happen. And yes, some liquidity was pulled, but it wasn't rugged. It wasn't like everything was sold, all the money got rinsed out and sent to an exchange and cashed out. That's not what happened at all. And that is your true rug pull, like Pulse Latina did. And, that has gone. That has gone.
Forget.
Right. People forgot about it. And they're not talking about it. They're talking about Maddie adjusting the liquidity because they think the money from a sacrifice is theirs. So, again, that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's important that people do a little bit of research, find out what's going on before they just start retweeting something and don't know anything. It's not a good look. And of all people, like I said, Maddie doesn't deserve that. He's made some questionable calls, but he's never done anything intentionally to hurt people. So, again, that's why I wanted to say that, and that's really all I had on it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I mean, like the amount of stuff that the guy does do for the community overall. I mean, it doesn't give you carte blanche to just like do whatever you want, obviously, when nobody's saying that. But yeah, he's done amazing things. I mean, setting up the Pulse conferences, the Hex conferences and everything. I mean, being so consistent with his streams. Maybe the guy actually would benefit from taking a week off. Sometimes I think about that some of these little things that he gets into that maybe misconstrued. I mean, hey, dude, give yourself a week off or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, he does so much, and I frankly haven't followed the Maddie token thing that much, but I know people have, and yeah, he's taking care of his stuff. Yeah, he has a DeLorean as well. He can see the future. You got it. I think he sold that off. Though. Didn't he get rid of the DeLorean? I think.
Well, he had put it up for sale, and then took it back off or whatever. I don't know if it's back up for sale again or not, but
I don't know why nobody would want to buy it. I mean, very practical.
Well, it's actually. I've heard a lot of things about that DeLorean. It's in very good shape. It's very few miles on it. I think he still has the original tires. Like they're not on the car, but he still has the original.
Yeah.
Everything that came with it. So it's one of the few in the United States that are in the shape that it's in. It's a great condition. So
yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, I want people to kind of back off of him and put it where it really matters. Focus on the people that are hurting people and doing things maliciously.
Yeah. There's plenty of scams out there to actually focus on, I think. So, well, I think that's going to wrap us up for this evening. I mean, there's a little bit of an abnormal episode, obviously, with the events of this past weekend, but definitely something we thought we had to talk about. and appreciate all you guys' thoughts on it. I think we had a really good discourse, and we're going to get back to, obviously, I mean, look, I don't know if there's going to be a way to dodge a lot of election stuff this year. I mean, it does spill over into crypto, and this is going to be a big thing over the next 4 months, 4 or 5 months. So going to be very interesting. There is further news on the Biden thing tonight. He just pulled out of some speech because of this medical condition. And I know that he just recently made a quote saying that the only thing that would stop him would be some kind of a medical diagnosis or something. So here we go. I don't know where this story's going, so we're gonna wait patiently and see what exactly they are planning on doing here. But so the RNC continues, I think, over the next 2 nights, so that's out there for you to check out too if you want to. But we really appreciate all of you guys being here. Valiant Low-Key, I don't remember seeing you before, but thanks for your additions to the chat tonight. Thank you for being here. DJ Moonboy, thanks for the super chat. Checks my pulse. Loyal viewer, Take a Break with Jake, thank you for producing the show as always. Metastang, a lot of other folks in here. We appreciate you guys. We do this every single Wednesday night at 6:30 Eastern, PM Eastern Standard Time, right here. What do we got here? I just heard Biden. Yep, there you go. Self-isolating in Delaware. So, we will see you guys next week where, well, I won't say the guests we're potentially having on in case we have a mix-up, but you won't want to miss next week. I'll just put it that way. We're going to have a big show. The biggest show. The greatest show you've ever seen. Huge. Horrible Trump impression. All right. So we will see you guys next week right here on the Creed of Crypto live stream. See you guys.